Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 403 of CryptoBiography, and it's part one of a new story called Private Eye. And here we go. He coasted the last 100 feet, engine off and lights off as well. One of the reasons he still had an older car was because he could do this. Modern cars often had features that meant you couldn't move the car without some sort of lights coming on, and sometimes not even coast in neutral with the engine off. And too often he needed to drive a ways without any light showing, or move as silently as possible. He pulled into a wide spot on the road. Stretching out before him was the valley. Below was a series of homes. He knew that, based on how he had pulled into the wide spot on the road, with his driver's side having the view, he would be able to see a particular window. It was dark now, and since it was the middle of the night, he assumed that this is how it would remain. And he assumed right. He ate a bit of food, drank some water, and later a beer, and the window never lit or showed any movement or a change. Finally, after about 3 hours, he decided to take off back to his home. He released the parking brake, which gave a slight popping noise, as it had been holding the weight of the car against the slight slope, and he rolled off onto the road. Only after he had gone a few hundred feet did he turn the engine on, clutch in, car now moving about 30 miles an hour. But he knew well exactly what gear he should put it in, and how fast to rev the engine, and he smoothly drove off into the night. His home was also his office. This was necessary, as he was a private detective and one who couldn't really afford a receptionist. He needed to be near his office as much as possible, so that if a client should happen to walk in, he could be with them almost immediately. He had long learned to sleep nearly fully dressed for the same reason. Tonight he went back to his office/home, but something was wrong. He wasn't sure what, but he could tell something was strange. He didn't go in. Instead, he patted his pockets as though he had forgotten something and turned back to his car. He heard just a small rustle, but he knew what it meant. He spun and ducked at the same time. A man, mostly in shadow, was almost upon him. He kept his spin going and thrust out his foot. It met the man's midsection, and he gave a great oof and fell forward on his face, clutching his stomach. He shone a light on the man. He recognized him. He was a man whom he had caught in flagrante delicto with a married woman. He had taken the usual pictures and reported back to the husband. His guess was that the man had become angry at him when the husband had made the wife break things off. It had happened before. He quickly searched the man, who couldn't stop grasping his abdomen. He found a pistol, which he would give to the police, along with a report on the event. He didn't really care if they arrested this man, but it was necessary to keep his license clean, or at least clean appearing. "Next time I see you, I'll assume you're attacking me, and I won't stop at one kick. Got it?" he asked the man, who seemed to be partially catching his breath. "Yeah," the man grunted. "Good. Get up. Get out of here, now." The man struggled, but did as he was told. He stumbled away, presumably to drive to an urgent care. When he was sure he was gone, he went to his office/home. His defenses were still up, but now he wasn't detecting anything out of the ordinary. Still, he went through his entire office and home space, room by room. Everything was in order. So, he eventually went to sleep, with his tie still tied, with a large loop to pull back over his head, on the table near the head of the sofa he used as his bed. The next day, he stayed mostly close to his office. He even got a new client, a man who wanted his wife watched. This was most of his work. He got the information, then sent the man on his way with a promise the job would be done within a week. He got on the internet. These days, most of his job was done via the searching of certain databases, some public, some not. He found data that, along with the information given by the husband, told him where he was likely to go and find the couple cheating on his client, and then made plans for the following evening. He knew they wouldn't be meeting tonight. That was the only client, so when his office hours were over, he found himself driving back to the same house as he had the night before. And that's the end of the episode for this week. Hope you're enjoying it. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, CryptoBiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And thanks for listening. Words and music, copyright 2025, Brandon Starr, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.